Hi, everybody. This is Tamara Childs, and this is your September podcast. I'm just talking about the energies moving into September. I have done a reading. There is a tarot reading that I will share with you shortly, but I wanted to say a few things before we get to that. So, as we move into September, we are coming off of this full moon that we had in Pisces. And this was um, had a lot of indicators that said that the things that we want to build in our lives require an important letting go of something that is no longer working for us. You know, full moons often make us do this. We often have to dump out the old water before we can refill the pail with water or refill ourselves with fresh energy. And because Pisces is, it's a sign that through so much compassion and so much permeability tends to absorb the information in surrounding it. It is when you have a full moon here, you can have some insights around where have you been, your boundaries been too permeable, where have you been too allowing yourself to absorb the world around you, and not enough self. And one of the reasons I'm talking about this is because we are coming off of a 2-month stint of Mars retrograde that I know a lot of you felt. And Mars retrograde, Mars is the planet of personal initiative, action, energy, aggression, strength to move forward, determination, ambition. And it's sort of the cutting edge. It rules knives and surgeries and that kind of thing, and allows us to sort of cut through the weeds in our life to get to what we really want, to get to the plants that we're actually growing for ourselves in our garden symbolically. And during the retrograde, there was a sense of being held back, sometimes under pressure, possibly frustrated, feeling like you can't get done what you need to get done, feeling a loss of ambition, a loss of energy, maybe being very tired. A lot of my clients were mentioning feeling just exhausted and just feeling like you didn't have any get up and go. And these things are very typical. It's almost like the motorboat that you drive out into the middle of the lake and then the engine turns off and then you're just floating. And if you're trying to make it go by pressing on the insides of the boat with your feet, it's not going to happen. It's like the engine is not on. And that's what Mars retrograde was for us. And then we had Mercury retrograde, the planet that rules our forward thinking, our ability to think things through and allow concrete plans to come through our thinking. And so I know a lot of you are probably very familiar with the Mercury retrograde, but when you had that with the Mars, it created a sense of, I feel like almost having to become reacquainted with our primary driving force. And so you may have had at least one, probably more, experiences this summer and in the last couple of months where you watched what your energy was doing. For example, you may have noticed your energy was spinning on some negative thought cycles that were not helpful for you, that were just, or spinning on gossip, or noticing that you were watching what other people were doing more than what you were doing. I think that so much of the Mars retrograde is real reevaluation of where our energy goes, and then the Mercury retrograde, where our thinking goes, where our thoughts went. And as it moves forward, now it's just at the end of August, moved forward into September, you'll start to feel some of the pressure letting off, because it's almost like if you had the parking brake on and you're trying to pull out of a parking spot with the gas. Mars retrograde doesn't feel good when you have somewhere you need to be, somewhere you need to go. It feels like somebody's holding you back, and that can trigger an anger response. It can trigger frustration. It can trigger a feeling of implosion or frustration. And because Mars was on the South Node, there's a chance that you were experiencing something that had been very historical for you, or something that had bothered you before. A pattern, really, is what we're looking at. We're looking at patterns because that's one of the ways that we evolve and move past the pattern, is to recognize, oh my God, I'm in a circular, I'm in this familiar struggle that I've been in before. I don't want to be here. I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my energy. And so a lot of us may have realized this summer during the Mars retrograde where we typically or historically have been wasting our energy. And some of the areas could be wasting them trying to change other people, trying to, um, there's sort of an unhelpful pattern a lot of us have that has to do with self-criticism, where you're not really accepting who you really are at your root level and what you truly desire. And I think that's something a lot of people were looking at. I think relationships have been really up, and the give and take between relationships. So that's been important. So as we move forward, we're going to get another chance to uh, what we were doing was observing ourselves in the third person sometimes and saying, wow, I really got upset about that, or wow, that really was frustrating. And it's like so many other times in my life, and that time 20 years ago that I was frustrated about that certain scenario and that person ignoring me, or that person, doing this, or whatever the pattern is. And now we'll have our energy beginning to move forward and able to revisit those areas that bugged us this summer, or things that came up for us this summer that we felt like, I don't know how to fix this. I'm noticing it, but I really don't know what to do about it. So that's what we have in front of us for September, especially after the eclipse season, 3 eclipses in a row. And I just know that we have been through so much change, whether it's externalized or internal, that you may be tired as you enter September. You may feel like you've been running a marathon and you've just been taking naps and you don't know where the marathon took place. But believe me, the smoke is beginning to clear, and we're beginning to have um, a sense of what was let go in this last full moon Pisces on the 26th of August, right before September. So please do look at where you have 3 degrees of Pisces and see what part of your chart you had a conscious, willing letting go of negativity, of old stuff, and do some celebrating moving forward. And if you're a little tired, or you feel like you're coming out of a deep sleep, that is okay. That is part of the September energies moving forward. Now, we are going to have a Venus retrograde, but it does not really begin until October. You're going to start to see some material that will be related to it this month. But this month I feel I feel like this is going to be a slow time. It's an integrative time after so many changes, and if not changes for you, and I'm sure there were, you will have noticed loved ones and family members and people in your community and people in the world were going through a lot of change. So just acknowledge that change was the keynote for this summer. And as we move into September, it really is a time to clean up after the storm and begin to take just 1 or 2 actions that feel good to you, that are corrective or restorative is what I want to say, restorative actions, because I feel like whatever went on this summer for each of us, we may need to just restore. Sometimes what you need to restore is just a sense of your love for you. Did something happen this summer that caused you to get a little bit off and away from a sense of connection with you? Or did something happen this summer that you haven't yet been able to emotionally integrate? Did something happen this summer that you still haven't decided about and you're being hard on yourself about that? So September is the time to make some new decisions based on everything that you've learned this summer. So that's what I wanted to say about September. A lot of it is just a revisiting and just a recapping what we've already been through in the last few months, because I feel like that's a really important part of September. And when I drew the cards, I recognized that it feels like we're still just processing about what we've been through. Now, a note about the video, though I did try to set it up correctly, it's a little bit high, both above the cards, and then it's a little bit, the camera angle's a little funny, so just bear with me on that. If it bugs you, you can just listen to the audio, because there's still some good information in there, even if the video isn't perfect. So I hope you have a wonderful September. And if you would like a private reading with me, you can reach me through my website, tamarachilds.com, or I always post a link to a current special that I have available, and that will be in the link below. Please comment, share, and subscribe if this helps you and you enjoy this video. It's very helpful when you comment and share your experiences as well. I would love to know how this pans out for you. Otherwise, have a happy September, everybody. I'm just going to start with 3 cards, and then if I feel like we need another, we will draw another. And I'm just going to flip these in no particular order. Oh, the moon. Okay. And it's interesting that we're getting the moon, because we just had the full moon in Pisces. But we're heading into September with some residuals from the moon. And we received the moon card also when I did the reading for the full moon in Pisces that we just had. And I love the imagery on this card, and this is a different deck. You know, this is sort of a traditional look at this, but here we're still, you know, if you look at this card and you look at the dogs, our instinctive natures are still howling at the moon. We're still howling a little bit right now at the things that we've had to let go of just in the very recent past. Remember, we're in a waning moon as I do this reading heading into September. That means we are letting go. We're still letting go of stuff that had accumulated, deep emotional material, subconscious material that's been deeply affecting our point of view. It's been coloring our attitudes toward our future. And that's one of the reasons we want to let go after a full moon, is the sponge is full and it needs to be squeezed out. And so our instinctive natures are still sort of beside themselves, still having moments as we enter September of, what's the word I want? It's like emotional discharge, or getting lost in moments of emotion and emotional material. You know, the eyes are closed. They're just fully under the influence of this reflective light coming from inside. And one of the things that's coming up as I study this card that I want to say for everyone is that you have the right to feel the way that you do about the things that are happening or have happened in your life. And even if you can't remember, sometimes we're influenced by many things that we don't remember from earlier ages in this life to other time frames, other parallel lifetimes, other times that we've been in bodies, if you take that point of view. And so even if there's a little bit of sort of crazy, unconscious, reactionary energy happening with you, just understand that you are in the process of sort of howling through the stuff that you need to, the emotional material that's really meant something to you, and no one else has to validate it. They don't have to get it. They don't have to get this part of you for it to be real. And it's funny because I've been spending some time this summer on family property that's a ranch, and it's sort of remote. And there have been a lot of howling coyotes out in the West. We call them coyotes, not coyotes. And I've been hearing them yipping and kind of going a little crazy at night, you know, and in the early morning, you'll hear them just sort of a chorus around the buildings.
And it reminds me of this image where there's such an influence. It's like everyone's under a spell still from the full moon. And so the reason I think this card is coming up for everyone in September, what I'm hearing is reverence. Have reverence for the things, the spells that have been cast in your life, in past time and in present time. Have mostly past time. Have reverence for those spells and the power of you that is still being reflected through your subconscious associations with life. Understanding that we weave spells in life, and we become sort of under a spell, and that's a real part of us. And it's not something to just say, go to the loony bin, loony, lunar, you need to go to the loony bin because you have these emotions or these perspectives or these sort of complicated, convoluted parts of yourself. No, you need to have reverence for the things that still deeply move you in your life. So this is a card, what I'm getting, my guides are talking about respect. And how can you respect the spells that you have been put under? And we're in the process of breaking those spells as well as we really let go of that waning moon and come to the next new moon. So we have a sword card. It's the 6 of Swords. And this is a card of traveling. And I'm going to say energetic traveling away from pain, traveling away from things that have not felt like that you struggled with. And you can see here in this rendition, it's like there's this swan. The boat is a swan, which is a sense of grace, that with grace, we can travel to new territories that are beautiful and evoke new feelings in us as we move away from the old territories that have caused us to have pain. And you can see that there's a ghostly helper who this person is just riding, just allowing this person is allowing himself to go and being taken. This ghostly figure is, let me hold it up a little bit. This ghostly figure is the driver. So there's a part of your spirit that lets you know when it's really time to let go of a situation. And if you'll let that happen, you'll find that you'll be brought naturally to a new territory. You just surrender to it and let go of the struggles that have occupied your time and allow this grace, this sense of grace, to move you forward in your life, and know that there are unseen helpers at all times wanting to move us away from painful territory that has outgrown its usefulness to us. Now, the 7 of Cups, it's so interesting because this is all taking place above her head and sort of in her hair. She's sort of daydreaming, and these are yellow. I love this image. It's very sort of fun and sweet. But it's taking place above her head. So this has to do with the dreams and the options that we want in our lives, and that this may be a time, September may be a time when an appropriate action is just to daydream. She's not really doing anything. She's just sort of sitting there with it. When I combine this card with the moon, which is this deep, unconscious drives, the things that drive us, the deep drivers inside of our consciousness that we're not even really that aware of, that we're having emotional feelings about, and we're still kind of working that through. And then the surrender of the ego to letting go of the struggles that have occupied us and allowing our helpers to move us to new territory while we dream. So this is a card, they're not even awake, they're not aware, their eyes are closed, they're just howling, they're just feeling their feelings. And this one is just quietly sitting and letting himself be taken. And she's quietly sitting also and just letting herself dream. She's got castles and stars, and there's a snake and dragons and a mask and jewels and another dragon. That's interesting. So there's a sense of mythology to this card. So when we're looking at the energies for your September, uh, this I would say is a transitional month. It's a time to really be aware of your own material that's driving you, yet not attached to it, and allowing yourself to move to new territory. And it'll happen naturally as you're ready for it, just sort of like an eyelash falling off your eye. And that there's also a space of dreaminess, but it's not really a time of action. I'm just going to see if there's one more card. I'm getting the guidance that there may be one more card for us for this month. Okay, here's a card of action. Look at that. This is the Knight of Swords. So it looks like as we enter September, it's going to have this reflective quality, this reflective healing presence for us, where we're really in a space of non-action at first and just not, it's almost like we're waking up from a deep nap. And here comes the Knight of Swords, and this indicates there will be sort of an influx of mental energy. It could become physicalized as well. Knights bring in situations. They move things forward, and often almost appearing like lightning out of the sky. I mean, this is an air. He's a sword card, which he's coming from the air. It's very mental. It's coming out of the clouds. So thundering down to earth. And so we may find that there's, I'm particularly getting in the second half of September, there are some rapid shifts and changes we all go through that bring in brand new phases, brand new ideas, brand new stuff coming in. And I'm also getting the guidance to get one more card. So I'm going to open this up. Okay. And this is the King of Wands. This is a card of leadership. Look at all the red and the orange and the yellow that he's got. Now, the Knight of Swords can be a little bit of a disruptive influence, but that's okay because we're kind of coming out of this deep sleep and this need to heal and this need to move forward and this need to dream. And suddenly, life is calling our attention in September and saying, you need to act, you need to think this through, you need to begin to create plans and then act on them. I mean, he doesn't really plan much, he just jumps. And so there may be, I always encourage some planning, even if you're getting an energy that's like, I've got to do something right now and change it all. So we may have that impulse coming in. It's not a negative. It's just something to be aware of. And how do you like to handle when you feel like you have to do things right away? But the King of Wands is either a person coming through your life, another influence, an influencer, let's call him. He's a fiery, dedicated, passionate. Look at him. He's holding the wand, and the wand is on fire. Look, it's sparking. He's got red and orange and yellow energy. He's full of ideas, full of ideas. There's a lot of that yellow energy is just, it's about having new, fresh perspectives. If you look at these cards, look how soft they are, and there's a lot of blue. And that's the emotional nature, processing, feeling, dreaming, feeling melancholy, wondering, worrying, not so much worrying, actually letting go of worry, but it's just this sort of melancholy, passive energy. And then you've got him coming in saying, let's get moving, let's start something, let's start acting on the new territory that's coming up through the Six of Swords. And then the King of Wands gives some confidence to us this September. If we really allow that, if you're seeing this reading, it is for you, it does apply to you, you can allow this to be your personal reading. And this is a fire card. He's very confident, completely clear on who he is. He's a master of inspiration. He's a master of, I'm going to call him like an architect of dreams. She's passively enjoying the dreams, like watching a movie, but he's going to create them and make them happen. So something's going to come in for us this September, a very masterful, strong, passionate, confident, masculine energy is going to enter our lives in September and allow us to really make something happen that is inspiring to us. So I hope you enjoyed this reading. I feel like I'm kind of at the end of it. I feel like it just said, okay, end of the film reel here. So we're going to end with that. I would love to hear your comments and your questions about how this might apply to you, especially as you get into September and start to process these energies that we've got here. It's really kind of a mixed bag. Such a transitional month anyway, with, it's the change into fall for a lot of us in this hemisphere. So I would love to know how this applies to you, how you've started to pick up the parts of this, and how September is feeling to you. I'll also put a link below. You can always reach me through the links below the videos if you would like to have a private reading with me. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.